Hey guys, this is iPurple. I'm back here with you with the next episode of Round Summit, a podcast style sit down about VGC and everything Pokemon. Today I've got some pretty special guests for you. Guys, I'm just going to give you a second to go ahead and introduce yourself. Gavin, you want to start for us?
Yeah, sure thing. Hey, I'm Gavin Michaels. Recently, I got 34th at the Pokemon World Championships. Previous national champion and regional champion.
Heck yeah, man. Glad to have you. And Brandon?
Hey guys, my name is Brandon Meckley. I just came top 16 at Worlds. Sounds better than just saying 16th. I've been playing since 2017. Started midway through the season, top cut a regional in Mexico, and then won the Costa Mesa regional out in 2018. And I'm known as the Venusaur guy.
The Venusaur guy. To me, you're known as the eternal Costa Mesa regional champion.
So. Woohoo! I'll take it.
So anyway, guys, we're super glad to have you. Both of you, like you guys both said, you guys had some really good world finishes, finishing in the top 40 of the best players in the world. So that's, first of all, congratulations. Like I said, those are both pretty solid runs. So let's just kind of get right into it. I wanted to give you guys a few minutes to kind of talk about your overall experience this year with Worlds, if it was kind of different than your past experiences. Like I said, just the overall feel of the tournament. So, Gavin, kind of tell us about your Worlds run and how you felt about the weekend.
Yeah, sure. So day one was really hard. Like, it was kind of like, it was really grueling, honestly. Like, it's hard at a normal tournament to go 7-2, especially when, like, a lot of the fat is kind of trimmed out. Like, I couldn't go 7-2 at Nats, right? In round one, I played a guy who had a game one loss and a Temple. I did not have that at Worlds this year. So yeah, it was really difficult. Played a lot of good players, a lot of games coming down to the wire, and a timer. Honestly, I think I went to timer like 3 times in day. Had a good win on stream.
That's actually interesting to hear going to timer, though. I haven't. I think I've had a few that actually went really close.
Yeah. So what happened with me was I decided to use stockpile storm, which, man, that thing that makes games go for a long time.
Okay, that makes sense then.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Day two didn't go quite as hot, but still managed to go positive, which I'm proud of. It was only my second time going positive at Worlds out of the, I think, 6 Worlds that I've played in. So pretty happy about that. Yeah, no, it was definitely like a pretty hard tournament. A lot of fun.
Yeah, I think there was a lot of really good competition. Just kind of being somebody that watched the tournament take place, just looking at all the competitors that were in day two, and then even watching Top Cut. There's a lot of really good competition this year. I thought the meta was not everywhere, but that it had a lot of different things that you kind of had to prepare for. Obviously with adding the Tafus and Lunala, Z moves, things like that. There's definitely a lot more things that that you had to prepare for this year. So, Brandon, how was your weekend, man?
Exhausting. I went into day one not with many hopes. If you saw anything or heard anything from Uncle Lou tweeting or something, I didn't really practice at all for the event, so I was a little bit kind of just not even worrying about it much. I just wanted to get in, play a few games, and then if I made it, whatever happens. And so I just wanted to go out and see DC. Round one went as you would expect if you don't practice. I just got bopped by Raider, and so honestly, I wasn't feeling too bad. I just played horrible, so that wasn't too bad. But then I got on a little bit of a run. Did well for the next 4 or 5 games. They were still. I didn't know my matchups as well, so it was kind of went to game 3 and I think every single set for the next 4, and it was a lot of back and forth. And so with that many games of Pokemon being played, it was just I was getting really tired pretty early. So by I think it was my 7th set, I was just absolutely exhausted.
Yeah.
Yeah, like and since I don't know, I haven't actually had many tournaments where I've had to play 9 rounds. It's I think 3 tournaments. Dallas, didn't go far in Worlds in 2018, so I didn't have that, and then both Nats, and so I'm just not used to playing 9 rounds, so that was a little bit exhausting. Been playing normal stuff. I don't think I had any odd out of the ordinary restricteds. I'd been playing a lot of Ray.
Really?
I played 8 Ray, no 7 Ray Quaza, and just been playing a lot of Ray Ogres, a lot of Ray Sogaleo, but didn't play anything too out of the ordinary besides that, which, I mean, I guess Ogaleo's out of the ordinary. We didn't see it much for Worlds. But I played 2 back-to-back. I got to play Angel and then Alex Underhill right after that for the same team, which kind of helped. And that's whenever it started to be, I was still tired, but it was starting to understand the team a little bit more, getting used to everything. And so then I ended up closing out the day, ended up playing my best buddy, that Mark Elson, that I played him multiple times, at least 15 times in tournaments. So we knew each other pretty well. Didn't quite know each other's team fully, but we knew what we were running for sure. And so that last round was rough. Both had a lot of the couple things not go our way, ended up pulling it out with a double protect Xerneas. Nice. And then he missed a double Origin Pulse. So
a bit of luck there.
Yeah, it wasn't the best, but
it's one of those things really where like to make a deep run at Worlds, like you have to high roll in some capacity. Like I don't care who you are. Like it's too hard of a tournament to not have to like need a little bit of luck go your way.
That's fair. I think I've played pretty well in the set too, so I didn't feel as horrible. But man, for that to happen to my buddy, it felt awful.
Yeah,
that was the main thing.
If it was a stranger, like obviously, like it's like, oh man, I'm sorry for RNG, but like that's your best bud. That's a team kill. So, it's definitely not something you want to go down. And if it does, you definitely don't want it to be against a friend. Which is that's just tough. Not much to say about that one. Talk to us a little bit about day 2. I know not to cut to the chase, but you did play on stream with Wolf, so I'm sure everybody's curious to hear about that. But like I said, go ahead and talk to us a little bit about your day 2 run.
Yeah, so day 2 actually felt a little bit smoother. After 9 rounds of playing the team, I was I guess what's the best way to put it? It just felt better to play. And so I went into round 1, had a strategy, played it out, and won through that one cleanly. Just a standard Zern Ogre team or Ray Ogre team. Same thing with the next 2 matches. Felt pretty clean. Just executed the game plan fine. But it was I definitely noticed it was a little bit different than day 1. Most players actually have been playing. We're playing a lot more safe, which is different. Then everyone I started playing, everyone I knew. Like this is the main thing, that everyone is at the top of their game. So these are best of the best here, and so a little bit nervous before each round, but started to get into a groove. Then ended up going back to 3-2 after a 3-0 start. A little bit. The winning in actually wasn't too bad for me. First one, I ended up playing one of my worst matchups, Zernala. Pulled it out in a game that actually, I believe, went to timer. We were on turn 3.
Nice.
Pulled that one out, and then was sitting down, just relaxing, trying to focus on everything because I knew that the last round would be pretty tough, and then it turned out to be Wolf. And so I knew right away. I was like, Wolf's going to be on round last stream no matter what if it's 4-2. So I knew right away. I walked over there. He comes and gets me and says, yeah, we're on stream. So I'm like, okay, well, of course. walked back there, and no lie, I was just. Can you hear me?
You broke up a little
Oh,
bit.
okay. Yeah, my computer froze there. I was just absolutely. Whenever we got on stage, I was nervous as could be. I was basically doing anything I could to not show that I was incredibly nervous because it was a winning in against probably the toughest opponent I could have played. Somebody that had just won Nats. Somebody that
Kind of cut out there, man. You still with us?
was. Yeah,
I heard
can
him.
you?
I heard him.
Okay, cool. So I was a little bit worried. Once we got in, I was I was trying to get a feel for him because everything I had seen on was that he was very defensive, and I hadn't played anything like that before. And so I was trying to basically pick my spots early on. And as you saw in that first game, we were doing a lot of double switches because I couldn't get a feel for when he was switching early on, and so I was just trying to find spots where I could chip his Pokemon, and it was having a little bit of tough time. We obviously know how game one went out. He missed the rock slide. I got the Rayquaza kill, and so that made it a little bit easier. A little bit easier for that game one since I just made it. Then we go to game two. And I was thinking from game one, it didn't seem like he knew anything. He was very surprised, it looked like, on the Incendiary. And so I banked on that he would not know that I had Dragon Claw, that my Venusaur had Z move. And so went through it. Basically, the whole game plan was just targeting that type of. Got it down, got everything switched around, and basically all I wanted to do was make sure my Groudon came in unintimidated. And so last turn before that Dragon Claw, I faked out the Incineroar, and then it was pulled it off without smiling before.
We all caught the grin on stream, but I mean that's that's probably one of the most well-known VGC players. I mean, there's God knows how many people have started VGC because they watched Wolf on stream somewhere at some point in time. So to pull out a victory for a win and in against, one of the like I said, one of the most notable players in VGC history is definitely cool. It's definitely something I think is okay to smile about. But everybody caught that grin as you pulled the victory out in game two. But nobody fought you on that one, man. Definitely not. But you guys kind of touched on it a little bit, but I kind of wanted to speak on. Obviously, Umbreon got second, right? I think that's probably the elephant in the room is Umbreon got second.
Gina's
So
nuts.
talk about the meta. Like how did you guys go into it? What did you guys see? What did you guys expect?
Yeah.
Just
I can talk about it. So the fun fact about Umbreon, despite it getting second at World, it had more losses than wins.
Who else ran?
Oh, there's a lot of Umbreon, dude. Like, so we had Kutesh went fourth. Febsy went 2-4 with it. Shun Nakajima went 1-4 with it. Alvaro Estikin went 1-4 with it. And it's like, huh. And these are all the same, like, I don't know. Like, we're saying, like, the same, like, Duskmane, Groudon, Lele, Mence, Umbreon. Hirofumi uses it, 8-3. Oliver uses it, 1-4. And to me, what that kind of really speaks of is that I don't think that anyone was really making like meta calls that were like super anti-meta, just because it was really hard to be anti-meta in a format where, do you know how many different duos were used in day two? 19.
Yeah.
You're not going to be able to counter everything. So I think what most people were trying to do, and what I thought was going to be the best play going into World, do your own thing and do it really. Like, if you do that, then that's the only thing you could do. So that's why I decided to go with Jump Off Snorlax.
That would make a lot of sense with a lot of these teams. There was a lot of odd picks out there. There's a Venusaur, Mega Aerodactyl, Medicham. You were just basically playing your game, and if you could play yours to the best, then that's what ended up winning. Breloom out there, Salazzle, like there are a lot of cool Pokemon.
Yeah, I think like
Yeah.
5 teams come to mind right off bat, right? Because you had the second place Umbreon team, right? And then Brandon, you obviously used Venusaur, which I'm pretty sure was the only Venusaur in cut, if I remember correctly. James
Mhm.
James didn't have a Mega, which was definitely something. We saw what else? We saw the Vettel, which is definitely way different. Graham's team is obviously super different, super hyper offensive. So I definitely see where doing your own thing really worked. So talk to us a little bit about Jump Fluff, man. How did that help you out in your day two
Yeah.
race?
Yeah, sure. So Jump Love was obviously something that's been like around in the ether a little bit. Like Arash had good results with it in six. Thepsi was talking about it a lot during National. So really how my team kind of ended up forming was I knew I wanted to focus around Lunala, Groudon, and Cinnamon on top of Feeney. I ended up coming with Snorlax as like the fifth Mon as kind of like the designated Rayoga matchup along with some other cool. Jump Flip was mainly just out of like not really knowing what I wanted out of the sixth slot, and I decided that the most valuable thing that I could really have there is a because if I'm looking for a Pokemon that I just want to be bringing to bad matchups, it's really difficult to make bad matchups positive, but it's a lot easier to kind of turn them into pure chaos. And I think Jump Love is really you have Sleep Powder, which obviously like they don't even know if it's going to hit. They don't know how long they're going to be asleep for. It's really hard to like plan around. It's chaos. Then you have Encore and Rage Powder thrown in there. It's really difficult to make consistent plays around Jump Bluff. So I knew that Jump Bluff kind of just gives me like an option to either like outplay people or get some really good sleep rolls on people. And it was definitely like really good this weekend.
Yeah, that sounds more of a headache to play against than anything else. I mean, Amoonguss is an
Yeah.
issue. If you give Amoonguss, plus
If you give
200
Amoonguss a
speed
cookie,
stat, it's crazy. That's yeah, that would be super tough to
yeah.
play against. I could definitely see like how that did well for you.
The main thing I was hearing about Jump Fluff, actually, I heard a little bit about it at Nats, was that it was a lot bulkier than people were saying. Did you run a lot of a bulkier
Yeah.
Jump Fluff?
I was running 252 HP, just literally like max HP, max speed.
Okay.
Like Jump Up is way bulkier than people expect though, because people will go for the icing on it with speed, and people are really caught off guard when it does.
Yeah, quadruple effective. I would think it would do under or over half for sure.
I was able to win game one against Bartos in day one because he did not expect to tank it so well. Jump Up is actually like not that frail, which is interesting. Definitely like it's definitely like pretty cool. I would definitely recommend looking into it. I noticed I got a lot of wins because I don't think people knew exactly what to say.
Yeah,
Like,
it's like a different alternative to Whimsicott, except with that sleep powder, it's really nice. It's a lot. I love the Encore. Actually, is the main thing, but having that chlorophyll ability and being able to outspeed even some Rayquazas, I bet you out would be really nice.
Yeah. So one thing I noticed was that people were really shifting with Rayquaza in general away from like Sash and AV and more towards the Berry Sword Stance variant.
Right.
Like I'm sure we all saw. Like Brandon, I'm sure you saw a ton of that at Worlds.
I saw that almost every round. It felt like they were
exactly. And it turns out it's really helpful to just outrun it and make it take a nap. Those are.
I didn't even think about that. So you're going to be outspeeding because they're going to be going to outspeed. They want to make sure they're outspeeding Xerneas or Nihiligos, and so you're not outspeeding pretty much all those.
Yeah, exactly. It was really useful. I'll definitely say that. Like Jump Off is definitely MVP for me this tournament.
I think that's cool too. I mean, like I said, we saw Umbreon, and even though it didn't do well everywhere else, we saw. I think everybody wanted Umbreon win. It kind of had that Pachirisu effect. back when Sajin won Worlds with Pachirisu, and I think all that kind of ties in with using like you said earlier, use what you're comfortable with, use what you know, use what you want to, because that's kind of where you're gonna
I,
do your best.
I think that's something that Brandon did really well, actually, which is going in with the Venusaur stuff. Like, people don't know how to play around it, and you're inherently catching people off guard with it. You can get a lot of value out of it. People definitely didn't respect it enough going into the tournament.
Yeah, and I think
It
that kind of
was
feeds off of like knowing, because Brandon, if correct me if I'm wrong, but you've pretty much used Vino Don the entire 2019 season, if I'm not mistaken.
all of Ultra. So I didn't pick it up. I didn't play much of Sun and Moon. I played a little bit. But I was using pretty much any restricted that I could, any team that I could get a hand on. I wasn't really didn't really like either of those formats too much. Sun was fun, but I just never. The first regional I was at was the last regional of the format. So, but very start of Ultra, I just picked up Zerndon, and Venusaur it fit more of what I like to do. I like to play a little bit more pressure oriented, and Amoonguss is a little bit more passive and setup oriented. And it just fit what I like a lot more, and it ended up working out.
Did you hit all your sleep
Because what?
powers?
Oh no.
No.
But the good news is that they came in bunches, that I would miss a lot of them at once, and so it didn't end up affecting as many matches as I wanted. So that was good.
I feel that. No, I think there was like 2 games this tournament where I missed like 3 P-Blades in a single game. That happened twice. Besides that, P-Blades was really like pretty good for me, but just like it bunched up, so I kind of just like, well, I lost the game, but it's not just like eternally haunted.
Right.
That's exactly what I felt. I had 2 sets where I ended up missing. I think it was like 8 P-Blades in both sets combined, or like 8 P-Blades, 7 P-Blades, and then like 2 sleep powders. And I was like, it's fine. I get those out of the way, and it just felt great.
Right.
Yeah,
As long
exactly.
as you miss now, and not like in the really important turns where it's like you have to hit it. So I think
Honestly,
go ahead.
sorry,
You're
we're
fine,
saying.
go ahead.
I think that something that a lot of people should keep in mind at Worlds is inaccurate moves are pretty like these are the best players in the world that you have to beat. Like it's really difficult to do that when you're not giving yourself the chance to just get like a little lucky.
Yeah.
We're not even talking about like getting flinches or crits or whatever. It's just like, well, if I don't miss this move, which happens most of the time, it's really good. And like if you look at like the top players, right? It's like you got Naoto, who's out here using P-Blades. Same with Hero. Well, I guess James and Kazuki didn't, so that kind of ruins my point.
Well, James is using Origin.
Oh, that is true. Yeah. I don't know what the Spanish guys or Steven were using on their ogres.
Yeah, I'm not sure about those. But I can confirm James definitely.
Yeah, and it's just like, wait. Actually, I am going to look this up real quick. Just give me 1 second. Okay, so it looks like the Spanish dudes were using, and so was Steven. But like, if you still look at it, like Physical Groudon did really, really well this weekend.
Yeah, there's a lot of them. Ryusei, he used Precipice Blades. I did. Edu used Precipice Blades. So with, what is that, 8 Groudon in the top cut out of top 16?
Yeah, didn't Ken and Melvin do it?
I believe so. I believe I saw them both on stream with it.
Yeah, exactly. It's just like, it's Worlds, man. You got to be willing to just like, if you're willing to just get a little bit unlucky, so that you can like, if you don't get unlucky, you can do really well.
It's only
I find that interesting, actually, that we didn't see any special Groudon up there. I'm not sure about Kazuki's, but special Groudon was taking over a lot, leading up to Nats, and then it just kind of felt.
So Kazuki was special, but he was modest inside.
Okay.
Which is kind of interesting. But yeah, no, like when you thought of like what was like Zerndon going at around nationals, people really focused on more so the King Torn variants. And I think a lot of that was that King Torn is really good at just kind of like controlling and corralling your opponent. Really, it's like, okay, I can prevent them from setting anything up. I can get my own stuff set up, and then I can clean up with Xerneas Crowd on. But the problem is, going into Worlds, it had a huge target on its back and every.
Yep.
And like, props to Ryusei for doing so well with it. I bet you that more people had their King Torn matchup figured out and flowcharted than any other matchup.
I will say I ended up playing Ryusei 5th round. He didn't actually play it like a standard King Torn. He led King Torn, I believe, 1 game out of our set of. But he ended up playing it really well with Incineroar. Led it kind of like a Zernoger lead, where he would lead Ensign Torn. He didn't lead the same thing one time. Used, I believe, I saw his Moongets out there as well, which is bold against a Groudon team. But he played it a lot different than most standard King Torn. So major props for that, especially since I know I saw Precipice play, and he has a very bulky Groudon. So really innovative and a lot different than any other King Torns I'd ever seen.
Oh yeah, no. I think that if you're trying to do standard, if you want to do well, you have to do it really well and also different. And at that point, is it really standard?
That's fair. Yeah.
Point.
Basically, throwing off your opponent in team preview and then, being able to do your gameplay.
Yeah, because like if we're looking at teams that are like really standard, there were some, like Mel and Agati, and I think, I'd say Melvin and Agati. I'd say like everyone knew like they were bringing that exact team.
Yeah.
Everyone knew what to do against it, but they're just that good that like they can like still and like being really good with standard is really. It's just like being really good with something not standard, slightly better. I feel.
I throw James Beck in there too. He had been running that all season. He never strayed away from it. And actually, that's the same team Steven ran in Moon Series.
Yeah. The thing with James' team, though, in my opinion, is that he's going to use it, but how are you going to get good games against it?
That's fair.
You're not going to be able to practice against anyone who can play that team quite like. And like obviously, like Agati is going to be a better Zernala player, Mel's going to be a better Zerndon player than you can find. But you can get people who are pretty good at it. No one else is going to be able to play like James.
Yeah, especially in Ultra. There's nobody that kept doing it from start of Sun and all the way through. That somebody that would just be able to do that with autopilot and just know what they're doing. There's just not many people that would do that and be able to know all those matchups. And credit to him, he made a really good team there.
Yeah.
Were there any restricted that you guys saw that kind of caught you by surprise? I know we had in Top Cut Yvettal, which is pretty cool. But are there any restricted you guys saw that were like, what is that doing here?
I can rattle on about this a little. So I played Ismail in day 2, who was using Rayquaza.
That's interesting.
Well, let's see here. I mean, I played a lot of like duos that were interesting. Like, I mean, in day 1, I think I played Primals, Raydon, Raynala, and it's just like I don't know. You kind of end up running into all like I don't know. There's a lot of different duos this tournament.
I think that's one of the things I kind of liked about Ultra is that there were so many different restricted pairs. It felt like you played almost every one with, I mean, we did 16 rounds there. So
yeah,
like it was kind of cool to see. It felt a little bit like 17 in the fact that you could run pretty much what you wanted.
Yeah, definitely.
I'm a big fan of 17, so I'm always good with that. But I saw the one that caught me off guard. By far was the Solgaleo. I saw it a lot on day 1. And then round 1, I'm looking on stream and I'm seeing Solgaleo Lunala on stream and I'm like, what is going on? Did I just miss everything about Solgaleo?
Yeah, so I can actually talk a bit about that. So it was definitely like picking up a little bit among the Japanese scene with the Rayquaza Soul stuff. I mean, obviously, like Hirofumi was able to win Japan Nationals, but what I noticed a lot of people were looking into going into Worlds was mist feeding. So what that does is it prevents stat. So which means like you could run the choice band Rayquaza, and if you try to switch into the Incineroar to intimidate it, that ain't gonna work. If you try to get an Icy Wind or an Electro buff onto it, that ain't gonna work.
Huh. I did not actually hear about this. That's actually pretty cool.
Yeah, it was like picking up a decent amount of steam on ladder, and it's just like people being like, "Oh my god, have you seen this? Have you seen this?" Going into it, and I think it definitely was something that was a bit more popular among the Japanese players, and then also like some of the Smogon guys, where you saw that Ray Soul Glax team doing pretty well,
Right.
which was different. That was more so like bulky Berry, Ray, and then just really relying on double fake out from Persian Ensign to let you outplay all through different matches.
It was a very position oriented team. It seemed like it had a decent amount of matchups that weren't necessarily in their favor, but if you knew how to play the team, and since it was could be quite offensive if it needed to, if your opponent didn't know what they were doing, you could just get taken over pretty quickly, especially since Z-Move Galio, it just wrecks everything.
Oh yeah, like it's so funny with Z-Move Galia, just because like a lot of the time you want to go into a protect. Zern protects, cool. There's half your health.
Yeah, that was actually when I was testing in Moon Series, and that was a cool one that I had when I was running my AV Galio, and I was testing that. I knew that one right away, and so I did not. I don't believe I once protected in front of the 3 or 4 Ray Galios that I played.
No.
But I got switched in Incineroars and took 55, 60% because it just does a massive amount of damage.
It's good. Yeah, it's pretty. Like honestly, with those type of teams, what I actually like to compare it to is Zern. Where like just because I think both of them are really reliant on kind of that double fake out in order to just position things around and however you want it to. And obviously, like Persian and Kangaskhan play differently, and also you have an entirely different restriction. But I think it's like it is kind of like similar in how you want to like position both of them.
Yeah, very, very similar in the positioning, especially for the size spam. You just have to position so you can get pressure. Whereas this one's just a little bit towards setup, but you always have to position that fake out correctly. Otherwise, you're leaving one of your restricted just in a horrible spot, which both of them have giant weaknesses.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, guys. Not to take up too much, time. We obviously this is a great conversation, but we do want to kind of keep it on schedule.
Yeah, for sure.
Worlds was great. So, like I said, congratulations to you both on a really solid run. Um, but kind of going away from Worlds and outside of it, talking about this new circuit, there's a lot of people that had some issues, kind of with the new, how the BFL worked. And I know we kind of talked about it earlier, how people, are already halfway to their invite, and we're not even 2 months into the season. We've only had what, two regionals, not even one in North America yet. So talk about that, guys. Like, how do you feel going into the season? Is it going to be obviously easier to get a Worlds invite? Do you think this is going to affect Worlds later on? How does this affect the stipend race? Just kind of speak on what your guys' thoughts of the season is so far.
Yeah, so something that's really interesting in terms of the best finish limit, obviously, is that now the BFL for mid seasons and PCs still at 6, but they are not like broken up into like, oh, you have to do 2 in Sun, 2 in Ultra, 2 in Moon. You can kind of just do them whenever you want. And what makes this sort of interesting is that for stipends, if you're able to position it correctly, you can do all of your 4 given stipend. So you want to go to Australia, you can go to 12 different locals for that stipend season, and that's 540 CP on your way to Australia.
Yeah, it's
crazy.
Kind of crazy, actually, how they changed that.
But what it does is sort of interesting in that it basically becomes impossible to
That's fair.
because suddenly just getting that decent finish at the internet doesn't put you at a massive advantage for the next one because just anyone out there who wants to go to that one and has the locals to do it can do it. And all yeah.
It's just a little unfortunate, it feels like, for the locals that just don't have the events. Say Ohio area, Texas actually has quite a few events now. We've got up to 5 TOs, so just like a lot of those areas that just don't have that, it's crazy.
Yeah, like SoCal's boned. I think it's safe to say.
Y'all get how many? Y'all have 2 TOs out there?
We have one in LA, one in San Diego, and then if you want to count the one in Tijuana, we have that.
Yeah, so you are having to do traveling for all those if you want a chance just to even compete there. And then at that point, with just decent finishes, like they could have 6 MSSs and 6 PZs could easily be at 300 points with not even getting first, just to, like maybe 1 or 2.
Yeah. Basically, it forces it so that if you want to be competitive in day 2, if you don't have you need to be doing extremely well on the regionals and international stage. So, something similar to like what Wolf did this last season.
Right.
It's like, it is possible, it's just really hard. And I think my main issue is just that if you do have like those a run of good regional finishes where it's like, oh my god, you just won 2 regionals like back to back or whatever. That's like 400 CP. That's probably still not enough to get into stipend rate.
Yeah, not at all. I was looking actually at 2018, and 400 seemed like the baseline for anything NA. There was just for the first set, like 500 was needed. I think it was 416 was the lowest stipend for 2018 for LATAM, and that's a lot of points you have to get in. I mean, we had Uncle Lou barely missed out, and he had a second place and a top 4. So, I mean, it just speaks to the amount of tournaments you have to go to, which is crazy, especially in one of these 2 to 3 month periods.
Yeah, I think it was. I mean, I remember for one of them, I think Riley missed out on the stipend despite winning all 5 events.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah,
it almost, like you guys said, it almost punishes the people that don't have locals that they can go to. It almost I mean, it does. It's not almost, but it forces them to have to do well at that bigger tournament stage, like a regional or an internationals. And it's kind of crazy because obviously not everybody has the access to the TOs to give them. Some places are having events 1 or 2 times a month, if not more than that. And so like they have these opportunities to just stack up on CP very quickly before, there's a lot of people that haven't even played in their first event yet. And some people have already have already played in 5 or 6 different PCs and MSSs. And it's crazy how fast it's already moved along. So
at the same time though, I think ultimately it's not going to make it's going to make a difference for the individual stipends, but for day 2, I don't think it'll make just in that ultimately the it's still the same amount of CP from locals.
Right.
You still got to be executing well, and it's like obviously there are some people who are in areas without too many locals. I'm one of them, and it's just like, all right, can't get a day 2, but still pretty reasonable to get a day 1.
Yeah, it kind of puts you behind the 8 ball, especially since don't we have 2 East Coast or 3 East Coast regionals to start with? So you're having to travel right off the bat, even if you wanted to make it up there.
Yeah, it's but it's just one of those things, It's unfortunate. So no matter what happens,
it's the circuit that we play, unfortunately. I mean, I mean, I'm sure Gavin. I know you've been playing for quite a long time. You're probably almost numb to it now, like having to travel and go to places really far away to get your invite. So yeah, I mean, there's not a whole lot to say on that one. It's unfortunate, like I said, to the people that don't have the locals, but I mean, it's you get out there, do good, take advantage of it where you can. But Gavin, so you're the manager of a Pokemon World Cup next
Yeah,
year. I think it's the U.S. West of Florida, right?
We
But I know
okay, we
we're
would.
talking.
How dare you? We don't have a single player from Florida.
Oh,
Who do you
you're
think we
right.
are?
My bad. So
Yeah.
just I know
Imagine having
everybody
someone
kind
from
of
Florida on your.
I know everybody kind of bagged on you for it, but kind of explain to us like how you came up with that team, and then also go into like
Yeah,
how you feel about the season and how you guys think you can do.
yeah, sure. So World Cup's been going on for a really long time. US West for a long time has really been like the competitive US. Like US East has been able to make it out of groups a couple of times, but never really a deep run. Um, so what ended up happening is actually last year at Portland Regionals, I was in a hotel room with Stephen Maya and Justin Burns, who were the captains for US East and US Central. And I realized Justin was born in San Diego. Stephen grew up just outside of the Seattle area. So they were eligible to play on US West. So honestly, this all started as like us three wanting to all play together. So we just decided, hey, let's just do it. We're all gonna be US West. Um, then from there, what ended up happening was we are just trying to see like who else was just to see like what else we could. So we just asked. We just got enough people and just kind of together the team that way. Uh, I think like ultimately, I think this is going to force them to change the rules regarding eligibility. But I don't know. I saw the exploit and I just was like, I figure like someone was going to exploit it a little bit anyways. I don't know if y'all are familiar with Smog on board.
No, I'm not.
So at one point, there was a team called Team Asia. What ended up happening with Smog on Team Asia was I don't believe that there was a single person who currently lived within the continent of Asia in there. Uh, and
That's
yeah, it's just a matter of like I think that someone needs to just like show like why a rule is bad for it to change. Because like I don't know, I've been complaining about this for a while. Didn't so it's like okay, cool. Let's just
Just to
I mean,
exploit it
there was a couple
essentially.
other uses of it. I mean, it wasn't to the extent, but we saw Chef play for. He's playing for rest of Europe, and then I believe Gio is playing for Brazil. Which so I mean, it's been used for a couple other uses as well, but there might be some other use changes besides that. I know I followed a few threads. There were some people thought the U.S. might break up, that it might not be just three teams, where they might split it into two, which might make sense.
I
So it
proposed that
might
at the
be.
beginning, but people weren't having it. So I don't know.
But you
Yeah.
guys, I mean, obviously, it sounds like you're pretty confident in your team though, and you guys are going to win everything, right?
Yeah, I think putting himself in the best position to do so. Honestly, with like online tours, things can be kind of variable. I've managed a lot of online team tours before, so I kind of know how it goes. But like, they're putting ourselves in a good position. Ultimately, it's just going to be a matter of effort willing to be put in. I think we do that, we're going to be good.
Yeah, no doubt.
That seems to be the main thing that I've seen, where you see a lot of big names out there that just will either bring the same team that they've always brought, or they bring like a meme team or something. And they're just not putting in the work for these earlier formats where you might not be as proud. It's been a few years since you'd played it, and so it just creates like quick wins, and so you can tell with a lot of these matches that are pretty lopsided, the effort that's put in for each team.
Yeah.
Definitely. Well, good luck to you for the season. I know Brandon, you're playing as well.
Thank you.
Congrats.
Yes, his
So
first year feels pretty good.
yeah, so congratulations on that. But good luck to you guys, to both of you guys, and hopefully you can have a lot of really good competition and play well. So kind of going away, this is the last little bit that we'll have with VGC 19, and then not only VGC 19 but the DS in general. We'll be switching over to the Switch here soon. We've had some stuff kind of pop up with Galarian forms, a couple different items, and things like Dynamaxing pop up. What are you guys seeing that might be crazy, or what are you excited for going into VGC 2020?
Well, Galarian Wheezing, obviously, that thing is super cool. Like,
Oh
no,
yeah.
that was my main takeaway from everything I saw at Worlds. Was you get your new Galarian form, and Wheezing looks just absolutely hilarious. I love it. I love it. And then the other main thing is that they actually pulled out something that I'd never thought that Game Freak would do, and they actually made a new form that was not Gen 1.
Yeah. Really proud of them.
Yeah,
But what I'm most excited about is the fact that when they were showing everything, like the different moves and everything was doubles.
Yeah, actually, I didn't even think about that. It was.
And there was a lot of stuff that was double specific. They made physical snarl. They made the trick room item, and it's like I don't know. I feel like what VGC has that makes it like really distinct is that big focus on trick room compared to anything else,
right.
like compared to any other type of Pokemon format out there. And it's just like we saw them announce like the spectator mode. To me, that signals like okay, they really like are trying to make an effort for VGC. And considering that, like in my opinion, VGC 2020 is going to be like the most important year for VGC. We're going to have a massive influx in players considering it's the first Pokemon game on the Switch, and it's just a matter of like, it's really important that it goes super well so that you get like that good retention.
You also are getting a lot of players that are off put by the legendaries, so they'll be coming in for that as well. Yeah, it's my main thing actually that I've been a little bit worried about is just the durability of switches, mainly as far as battery goes, on how long those will, and how that's going to affect tournaments. It just feels like I don't know.
I feel like they got to do it similar to Worlds, where like every single table had like charging ports.
Right, which I just don't know if regionals will be able to do that. I haven't seen that at many regionals, if any. And I believe I saw a few of them, but as far as the one at every table, that was world exclusive.
Yeah, but like yeah, this one of those things though. It's like at the end of the day, it's just extension cords and power. Like it's not that expensive, you know.
That's fair.
It's I think my
But
biggest concern going into it, right, is going to be like how we're gonna not keep from screen peeking, but like how the battle interactions take place. Like, are they going to be on TVs? Are we going to be holding our systems up to us? Like how that interaction is going to go. I think is what probably a lot of people are curious about. Is like I said, is just how that interaction comes about. We can't have anything like with the Pokemon World Championships. They have tables with all the TV set up. I think that's a little expensive and a little too much, especially for we don't want the regional prices to go up even more, right? So I think
Yeah,
that's my biggest concern is like what that interaction is going to look like. But
I assume that like they'd have like switch to switch like interactions. Like I'd be really surprised if that wasn't. I think in terms of like screen peeking, worst case scenario, you can set up like little plastic things at every table so that that doesn't happen. Or alternatively, like they figure out a way to make the signal better than infrared, so you don't have to like constantly be pointing little lasers at each other's DI.
yeah, that was the thing I was thinking of, was the infrared, just putting it down. But I guess you could just hold it like sideways up towards you. Have to just change it every turn and point the infrared, but that would just get, I don't know. Doesn't seem like that would be the way it works. I feel like it would be a little bit stronger than the DS as far as the infrared.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean it's a much more powerful system, so we'll see kind of like how they can adapt it. But I think that VGC 2020 is going to be really exciting. I know when we switched over to Sun and Moon, there's a big influx in players, and I'm hoping that uh, there's going to be something pretty similar to with this. I know VGC as a whole has kind of been declining over the past couple years. So hopefully we can kind of get just a refresher for everybody. It's going to be fun, exciting. And I think that, like I said, VGC 2020 as a whole is going to be a lot of fun, and I think it's going to bring in a lot of new players just because it is the new game, it is the new system. Um, this is gonna.
Mhm.
I think it's gonna be a lot of fun, and we'll see how it goes. But
I
guys,
actually
oh,
have a bold prediction here.
okay,
I'm feeling like it's going to be Dallas. We're gonna get our first day 2 regional in a while. I just have a feeling with the way everything's been going and that the influx of players that we'll hit that. I believe it's 300 we need.
I actually see that. I
yeah,
buy that.
It's
I can see that. I know
Dallas was
the
so Dallas. If you remember in 20, it was 18. It had the $50 flights or wherever that just had a massive influx of players. It was 350 or something silly. It was just a crazy amount of people, and everything that's been done with the regional structure, they always put that the first tournament of the and I don't know. I have a feeling there.
I
Yeah.
I can see it happening. I know the first regional that I ever personally went to was Athens in 2017, and that regional was absolutely massive. I believe there was, I want to say it was over 400. I mean,
Yeah, that was one of the
it was
that was the
huge.
top 16 there.
It was definitely
Yeah.
top 16. And so hopefully we'll have some more regionals come up like that because I know that was also 9 rounds. And it's a lot of work. It's a lot of mental strain, but I think it's really fun to kind of go through that that experience. I know my first regional, I played a lot of really good players, just because I went through 9 rounds, and it was really cool to have that ability versus where your pool kind of gets really selective when you start playing, 7 round regionals. Um, but
Yeah.
guys, I don't want to keep you too much longer, so I appreciate you guys coming on to this episode. We, like I said, we really appreciate it. We've had a lot of fun. Um, if we'd like to have you guys come back again, but that's gonna kind of wrap it up today. So guys, if you like this, go ahead and like the video. Obviously, we really appreciate it. Share it with somebody, and then also subscribe if you want to see more content like this or Pokemon VGC content in general. Let us know what you want us to cover next. We obviously want to hear feedback from you guys, and get some interesting conversations going, things like that. As always, there's going to be an invite to the Discord. If you're in the description below, if you're not a part of that, it's a great community to be a part of. We're always trying to help each other out, be better as a community, and grow stronger as players. We have tournaments that happen all the time, circuits, different things like that. So please come by, join and be a part of the community. But again, one more time, Gavin, Brandon, we seriously want to thank you guys for coming on. And if you guys don't have anything else, then we'll see you guys next time.